Just want to check if you can hear me in C1.
Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear me? Good morning, colleagues and special guests, and welcome. We were expecting quite a bit more people. I don't know, maybe it's because we don't serve food, that everybody is not here in person. My name is Albert, and I'm from Internal Audit. Thank you for taking the time to join this fraud awareness session today. Allow me just a very short and 1-minute introduction. As a university, we handle public funds, research grants, student finances, and many other resources that must be protected. Fraud is not just a financial risk, it can damage our reputation, our work, and the trust our stakeholders place in us. Today's session is about helping all of us recognize red flags, understand our responsibilities, and feel confident to speak up when something doesn't look right. We will welcome today Mr. Boeta Pretorius. He doesn't need much of an introduction, but he was the former IT Chief Director at the university. And always when I think of Boeta, I think of Boeta know everything about IT, and we will learn from him again today. With him will be Mr. Tapelo Makile. He's a business analyst in the IT department, and we're looking forward to what he will be presenting. And then we are
Chapter. Okay.
And then a very special welcome to our speakers and guests from the Hawks. Firstly, Lieutenant Colonel Mutsumi and Lieutenant Colonel Matabula, both from the Serious Commercial Crime Unit. Always when I hear the word Hawks, all my hair is already standing upright. But it would be very interesting to hear what you talk about. Thank you very much. And I'm sure each speaker will just tell a little bit of their speciality and their work field, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again for being here and for engaging with us on this important topic. It is my pleasure now to hand over to Mr. Boeta Pretorius and Mr. Makile. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear a lot from that side. The sound was quite poor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear clearly, Boeta.
Okay, thank you very much, Albert. Just want to start the slideshow. Right, I believe you can see this.
We can see, thank you.
Thank you. So apologies for not being there in person. I'm actually a chair of another meeting here in our building, and I have to leave just after I've given you some background on what we do with cybersecurity and especially awareness and training and so on. So my current role, I was the Chief Director of IT, and I think in the program it says Executive Director of IT up until the end of last year. My responsibility now is to establish a digital academy, and from there the awareness and training initiatives comes from. So my role has definitely changed. So not as published in the program. So what is cybersecurity? It's actually the practice of protecting. And it's different things: computer systems, networks, programs, and data from attacks and unauthorized access. But I think the important thing, it involves a combination of technologies, processes, and human behaviors. So technology is only one of the things that is part of this combination, but human behavior is. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Peter, we can still hear you.
Okay, but human behavior is still the most important thing, and we want to secure information and systems from threats like malware, phishing, and hacking. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but we want to ensure integrity, confidentiality, and availability of data. You will hear the abbreviation CIA quite a lot when you read about cybersecurity. So why is it important? It should be a high priority for organizations because it protects your data and to ensure business continuity and maintain customer trust. It can do a lot if you don't protect your data or you don't protect your infrastructure, you can have serious problems with business continuity. Now, failing to prioritize cybersecurity can lead to devastating, of course, financial losses, regulatory penalties, and damage to an organization's reputation. So currently, it's the number one risk on the Northwest University Risk Register, one of two. It was the number one, number two for a few years now. So it is being prioritized very highly by Northwest University. It's one of the top 3 priorities set for IT in 2025 by the Vice Chancellor. And it's a number one EduCourse issue for 2026. Now, EduCourse is a non-profit organization advancing strategic use of technology in higher education globally. So they look after higher education. They're a little bit focused on the United States, but they look globally. And it's the number one issue for 2026. So it's not just 2025, we're looking ahead in 2026. So what they say, and it's important, and I don't think you'll be able to read this. Number one, collaborative. They call it collaborative cybersecurity, and that's the important part here is collaboration. It says building a cybersecurity culture of shared responsibility, end user awareness and training, and improved access to security services and support. So again, it's important to understand this. It is a shared responsibility between IT and the users and management. It's not an IT issue. It's not an IT problem. It's everyone's problem. And I think that's the message we would like to get across here today. Remember, it is not just the IT problem. Now, there's a Google Cloud security report out most recently, and it says cybercrime is the most disruptive global threat at the moment. Now, you know about a lot of other global threats, but it says it's the most disruptive global threat at the moment. There's the risk register. What you will see is it's not just cybersecurity. If you read the risk description, it says risks from technological changes like SIS, for instance, the implementation of SIS, the implementation of the new LMS. But then cybersecurity threats is part of this risk. And then AI implications in higher education. Now, there's a lot of implications coming from AI, including cyber threats from AI. But it's just to show you that it is on the risk register. The inherent risk impact is severe, and the risk likelihood is likely. It gives you an inherent risk rating of 20, I think, which is, Albert, you can maybe say, but I think that's the highest you can go. Now, it's big business. That's $272 billion in 2025. That's what organizations spend on cybersecurity across the globe. $272 billion. And it will go up to $900 billion in 2023. Now, what is important to look here is from 2018 to 2023, you will see an exponential growth. It's not just a linear growth, it's an exponential growth in spending of organizations, and the university should spend that as well. It should be exponential growth in spending. But it's big business. But why do you spend so much money? Because look at what IBM says. In 2024, analysis placed on the global mean cost of a breach is about $4.88 million US. So if you get breached, now we're talking about a major breach. It's not just a simple one-man breach or something. It's an organizational-wide breach. Will cost the organization on average $4.88 million US. Now you know that is what, 80 million rand at least. The average cost of a breach. So you have to spend money. Now, the enormity of the problem, look at this, phishing. Now, I think you all know what phishing is. People send you emails and you have to click on stuff and you have to give information away and so on. That's phishing or malicious emails. 3.4 billion phishing emails are sent per day globally. 3.4 billion. Denial of service attacks. So what these guys do, they make your services so slow that it doesn't work anymore. It's called denial of service. 20 million of them in the first quarter in 2025 and 7 million in the second quarter of 2025. That gives you about 80,000 per day DDoS attacks. Maliciousware and identity threats. Digital Defense Report says it blocks about 4.5 million new malware attempts daily. Analyzes another 38 million identity risks detections daily. So we're talking about an enormous problem globally. Now, per organization, this is interesting, per organization pressure is Checkpoint observed that about 2,000 attacks per organization per week. Gives you about 275 per day per organization. Now, what is important in this sentence is education was the most targeted sector at 4,484 per institution per week, which gives you about 641 per day. So this university could fall easily into that 641 attempts per day. The bottom line is, if you define cyber attack broadly, the world sees billions of hostile events each day, on order of and in the order of hundreds of attacks per university per day. And what we've said is about 641 on average. Now, in short, universities are vulnerable, as we've seen, and it's because we are open, it's a complex organization, and the mission, we face concentrated pressure, and it's more about our openness and freedom. A bank is much more closed, for instance, but a university is much more open. So they target universities. So what this sentence says is the higher education institutions sit at the nexus of open research, diverse users, legacy and modern systems, and valuable personal and intellectual property, making them attractive targets. So in the UK, they found that roughly 1 in 3 further and higher education institutions experience breaches or attacks, at least weekly. Breaches or attacks. So where does an attack usually start? And I think, again, this is a very important slide. Look what I'm saying. It starts with you most of the time. It's not a thing that happens here in the background, a technology type of thing. Most of the time, it starts with you. Now, phishing is the most common starting point. attackers send fraudulent communications using emails that appear to be from a reputable source to trick users into revealing sensitive information or clicking a malicious link. Human error. Over 90% of successful cyber attacks begins with human action. Again, it's not some kind of a thing happening in the background here, a technological thing. It begins with a human action. Now, what happens is cyber criminals often use these initial entry points. So they enter through a phishing attack. They use the initial entry point to gain a foothold in the network, because it is like a house. If you have one window open, everything else is closed. One window open, the thief can enter into the house, and that's the initial entry point. So they get a foothold in the network from which they then can expand their access and pursue their goals, such as stealing data or committing fraud or deploying ransomware. Now, you know what ransomware is, so they hit you and they ask for a ransom to start up the services again. And usually these ransoms are quite, it's typically in the millions of dollars. Now, what do we do at Northwest University? We've mentioned the risk register. The cybersecurity risk is the #1 risk on the risk register. There are numerous policies. I'm not going to refer to these policies. You can have a read. There's an information governance policy and the PR and all these kind of things. And I think, I'm not sure if there's a specific cybersecurity policy, but you can look under policies. And of course, there's governance. We have to report in governance structures about cybersecurity, also because it's the #1 risk. Then there's a few documents. I just want to quickly show you these documents. There's a cybersecurity strategy, a disaster recovery strategy. Now, why disaster recovery? Now, a cyber attack can be a disaster, but there can be many other disasters. There can be a flood, lightning, lots of other types of disasters. So we do have a disaster recovery strategy. And then if something happens, there is an incident response plan. And then we will, I will quickly show you what we do in terms of training. I will elaborate a little bit on that. And Tapele will then take you through these awareness campaigns. I think you've heard about Hoxhunt and other types of awareness campaigns. We had a big campaign yesterday at the entrance of Potch campus. But he'll probably show you some photographs about that. But let's quickly, I just quickly want to jump to one or two of these documents just to show you. This is the disaster recovery strategy. What is important here is from a technical and a technology perspective, we look at different things. We have more than one data center, and it's situated on the Potchefstroom campus, on the other campus as well. And we balance load between these data centers. So the thing that you will see is there's a lot of redundancy. So we share, for instance, unlimited power supplies. Now, you might think that why is that important? But if the one power supply goes down, there's another power supply that can take over. So power redundancy, cooling redundancy, because we have to cool these data centers. So there's different chillers. And if the one goes down, the other one will just take over. There's server redundancy. So in the different data centers, we duplicate servers and they do the same job. So if the server goes down in the one data center, the server in the other data center can take over. So there's server redundancy, there's network redundancy, like core switches, which distributes the network. There's also redundancy there. And then storage redundancy. and then the data protection strategy and so on. But this is a bit of a technical document. We even write services to say, for instance, if something goes down, I would guess that Ifundi will probably fall into the top tier, meaning that you would expect if there's an attack or something happens, a disaster happens, you would want to be the service to be available in 1 hour. Some other services may be days, some others even weeks, some other services even months. Let's quickly look at the other one, the cybersecurity strategy. I'll just see how I'm doing for time. I'll be quick on this. So this is cybersecurity strategy. So it spells out what we are doing in terms of cybersecurity. And I think the most important thing here is we had an audit more or less a year ago, an external audit to tell us where we stand. And we use what we call the NIST framework. And NIST tells you that you have to work on a few things: identifying problems, protecting yourself, detecting if something is happening, respond if there is a problem, and you have to recover. What you will see there, the current, but it's a bit old, the data, it was 2020 to 2022, we had a bit of a low rating for identification, protection, and detection, but response and recovery was quite good. And I think we worked very hard in terms of the first three: identifying, protecting, and detecting. So that is the strategy. And then if something happens, there is an incident response plan. So we say, what do we do if there is a cyber attack? And I think the most important thing here is that it defines roles and what do you do and who do you communicate with and so on. But I think the one important thing is here, the phases of response. So you prepare, you detect, but I think the most important thing here is contain, meaning try to contain the attack. And then if you have contained it, you investigate, and then you remediate, and then you recover. I'm not going this again. It's a bit of maybe a technical document, but it describes everything. Now, the important thing here is training. And I've got we've got two approaches to training. The one is there's a formal course that will be available on Ifundi and as quickly as possible on the new LMS as soon as it is available. But this is the basic layout of the course that will be packaged into Ifundi. This is already available. Just going to show you the objectives or the outcomes. So this is the learning outcomes of this course: to understand the key concepts of cybersecurity and the current threat landscape, to identify phishing attempts, social engineering, and unsafe digital behavior, implement strong passwords, and then multi-factor authentication. That is a bit of a new thing that we've introduced, I think, last year, especially for the Microsoft environment. Use secure browsing habits and device protection strategies, and then know how to report incidents and follow the protocol. So that's the key outcomes of the training. As I've said, we will we'll package it and start in 2026 with the training. This training is already compulsory for new staff. And as I read it, when I talk to the VC and to UMC, they will most probably make this compulsory for all staff members. But look out for this. It will be available from next year. Tapelia, I'm going to hand over to you. Sorry, I've spent a little bit more time than I said, but over to you. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, Buta. That was very informative. I hope everybody can hear me. You can hear me clearly?
Yes, thank you, Tapilu.
Okay, thank you. I think Buta has to go to another meeting. I don't know if there's questions for him before he leaves. If there's a specific question, I'll give a minute or so. If not, I will just continue with the awareness side of things. Then I can continue. Is everybody
I'll,
okay?
I'll stay for Tapelo's part as well. But if you have questions, please ask it now.
Okay. Okay, going once, going twice. I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, I'll share my screen from my side here as well. Yeah, let's start from slide one, okay? So my name is Tapelo Makile. I'm a business analyst in the Academics and Office Solutions department. So I look after the digital platform, security awareness, and the engagement lead within the IT space. So today I'll just be sharing and going through with you on what we are doing on the cybersecurity awareness campaign side, and just take you just on a quick report overview of what we have found so far and what we have implemented. So the strategy that came about and how we motivated this was that obviously we know that there's a rising threat that we have here on our side. And obviously the cost of inaction. So if we're not doing anything about it, IBM has identified that there's about 44 million. It will take us about 44 million. There's an average here in South Africa. As Buta has shared with us, globally it's about 4 million US dollar, but within South Africa it's about 44 million. So that's big money. And that's why he also shared that we need to spend money so that we can actually avoid this in future. So our solution, we want to obviously, it's implementing adaptive continuous training to safeguard our institution against the human error. Also, he did mention that it normally starts there. When attackers attack any organization, he said it's a window, but I will go further and say it's actually at the gate. Because once they're in your yard already, so they can take maybe your gas bottle that's outside your yard. So the human element of things, we consider them to be, you are the gateway to any organization. So now the implementation roadmap that we have followed is that phase one, we needed to have simulations so that users can be able to know and identify how these attackers formulate the emails that they send to users via phishing, how they come about. So we simulate that exact emails that they use, and we use actually a global database on this, meaning that everywhere globally, every attacker that or the breach that they have done or success, whether they were successful or not. So there's a global database that this is being logged on. So we use that global database to actually do the same simulations to train our users. And phase two, we needed visibility awareness. So that you will see via posters, via the campaign that he was talking about that we did at the gate yesterday, that we're going to be doing on all three of our campuses. So users need to be aware, and we're not currently not only focused on staff, but we're also doing it for students as well, so that they can also be aware of this. And phase three, it's that formal compulsory training that he was talking about. So definitely that will be compulsory, Buta. Starting from next year, we'll start with new recruits, and then later on we'll phase it out. We'll phase out into current staff members as well. And maybe in phase four later on, I don't know, it will be 2030. Once it's been approved, then we can now go into accountability now. So if you've had the training, you are aware of it, you've been trained on it, and then now we can move over to accountability. And campaign goals and KPIs that we wanted to reach on this is that obviously we want to reduce incidents, reduce security incident caused by the human error. That's basically that. Training reach, we want to train all NWU staff on cyber threats. So every single individual, even the one that's standing at the gate, our gatekeepers, from security to anybody, we want them just to be aware, to know that if somebody says what cybersecurity, what is a cyber threat, they must be able to know. That's what we want to do from our side. And key metrics as well, we actually definitely want to increase active reporting of suspicious email and reduce the overall phishing fail rate. And later on, I'll also show you how we started, where were we, and where are we now in terms of phishing fail rate within our organization. So the system that we have implemented at the moment, we are working hand in hand with Hawkshunt. I think everybody have had the name now, Hawkshunt. And at the moment, we have 50% of our staff members that are on board and engaging on this. But since from last year, so this report focused from September 2024 to September 2025. So it is within the last year or so. So we've got about 2,500 staff members that are actively engaging. And obviously now we're looking into increasing this, but we've noticed that it's not everyone within our campus that's obviously at the computer every day. We've got some staff members that use a computer only when they need to submit their leave. So we're coming up with strategies and thinking how we can reach out to those, maybe a live training for them. That's why I guess there's compulsory training that will come into hand. Because when it comes to simulation itself, not everybody's sitting in front of a computer or on emails like us. So we need to come up with different strategies on how we can reach everyone. And out of that 2,500 user that we currently have, those are users that have clicked on the report button. They've engaged, they've reported simulations that they've seen, they've reported real threat as well. But we've got over 3,000 staff members or users that are actually engaging with the system. What this means is that even though they have not reported, but they've been able to identify emails, they've probably clicked or been caught out on a simulation that we have sent to them, even though they haven't engaged or reported it, but they are aware of it. Because once they click on that email and it was a simulation from us, it will explain in detail to them to say that this was a simulation that was done by NWU. So in order to come on board, you just need to click this button, and then there's a button that they need to click. They will learn more. So it's just small flashcards. It doesn't even take them a minute or so, just to make them aware on, for future. Just don't click on this, don't click on that. Once you see this link, it can be suspicious. So it will tell them and educate them on that specific simulation that they've clicked on. And just to give you an example of the top completed simulations within our organization. So it will be maybe from an invite to link it emails, link it ad, MS mailbox expiry. So all this has been taken from that global database where attackers have used it to attack other organizations. They've been successful in these emails. So we take that and we actually train our users using that to say that, you know what, when you see this, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to avoid. And definitely, especially this last one, the MS password update one, we know that our password expires every 3 months. And attackers, they're actually aware of this, that different organizations need different users to be able to update their password regularly. So they use that. So now there's a difference between an email that we formulate that comes from NWU and just to tell you that your password is about to expire. So, and now we train you as well that if it does not come from us, this is exactly what you need to think of. This is what you need to look at. And the toughest simulations that have a very high fail rate. So it will be definitely, especially from HR. If we do anything from HR, where is salary update, where is the COLA? So we also take some of our local emails that we receive, and we train our users on those simulations as well. So if they see HR insurance update or medical aid update, most of our users are still failing on that. So we're looking on solutions on how we can better train them and let them understand when an email is a phishing email and our email. Because most of the times when we tell you updates, we won't look for a password, we won't look for you to enter details or personal details, but we've noticed that our users are still doing that. So those are the highest ones that are being failed, which is Dropbox as well, and authority parking. This is just to say in order to update your parking and be able to keep your parking, can you please enter 1, 2, 3 details? And we know that when you've got an allocated parking, it will stay your parking until you let it go. But some users still think that maybe I still need to update because I need this parking. So those are the types of simulations that will, that will simulate to the users. So it also has a very high fail rate. So we'll keep on training our users on that. So now, within our system that we use, we can identify how a department itself is doing and how an individual is doing. And why we need this stat is that just to have those targeted users that we can, better understand on why they keep on failing maybe our simulations, is just to increase the training if they need a little bit of more training or maybe a little bit of more focused session with them. So we can be able to tell which department is doing well, which individual still needs help, or which individual is even doing more well. As you can see, we've got our top performers as well. We've got a leadership board that's very nice and very interactive. You get badges and you advance from one badge to another. And what we are thinking as well in future is to say that, to keep the users engaged, let's use this gamified environment just to keep them more engaged. Maybe we can even give out a reward to say that, if you are the top reporter this month or the top achiever, we'll probably get this, or a top achiever of the month, and then we can publish it somewhere. Those are just some of awareness that we want to think of, just to keep them engaged, make it a fun activity and not just not just boring emails. Yeah, that's something that we can do, that we can look into. Just to show you quickly, let's quickly just do that. This is the leadership board, or the gamified environment that we have. So you'll see the badges that you have here. You'll be able to see where are you currently in the leadership board. You'll see currently I'm at the number 1,300. And you can also see, if you look here, you can see the top 10 who's doing very well at the moment, which is Colette. With some colleagues as well that have 100%, meaning they've never been caught out. They know, they can identify. They've been reporting those emails. If it's a suspicious email, they report it. They've never entered the details into this. So we can be able to, to keep them engaged using this. We can see via departments as well, which department is doing well. We can even have something for them if we need to. So yeah, it's a very fun, engaging system. So moving along, our human firewall effect. So far, all our users have reported 17,837 emails that they've reported. And out of this, we have come to terms and came to realize that 8,818, it's definitely confirmed malicious. And not only in simulations, but in real life emails as well. So this is a very high number. and it shows that this system is working. And those emails, as soon as they report it, we can actually take further steps on our side. But this system is so advanced that we don't even need some manual human element. We have actually customized it so much that if they report, and then if this are in place to say that this is really confirmed malicious, that it will not be also sent to other users as well. So we block it right there, and then the system will do that automatically. But in order not to block real emails as well, we also have a bit of human element on the side that will check maybe 2 or 3, maybe out of 8,000, it will be 1 or 2, just so that we can go through that specific email and say, but this one is not spam, so in future, don't block this kind of email. And that's basically what we've been doing on our side at the moment. We work hand in hand with our operations department on this, with the different IT professionals, just to make sure that this works well as well. And out of those reported threats, if we just break it down, 50% of them, about 49%, were definitely likely malicious, as we said, and about 51%, it was just plain spam, where we will receive tons and tons of email. So what we're doing as well is that if we receive spam that users don't actually want, if, for example, 10 to 20 users report the same spam email and they keep on receiving the same spam email, we just want to reduce your mailbox as well, so that you can focus on the real emails, so that it mustn't be flooded with spam and take a lot of your time. So this is also another feature that we're looking into, just so that we can work with you on that as well. And now, when it comes to the visibility awareness, Buta mentioned this. This was the campaign that we did at the gate yesterday. So we'll use definitely our vice chancellor, and we received permission actually to use all these photos. And we just made them aware to say that, you know what, our top management staff, they actually are part of this. They know about cybersecurity. They know how important it is. So we might as well learn on this and learn from them as well. So that's what we used here. And we were at the NWU main gate here in Potchefstroom. So next it will be Mafikeng or Val, whichever comes first. I think next week we're going to be making those arrangements, and then we do it on all 3 campuses as well. And these posters, we also post them where users can see them, where our students can see them. It's people they are familiar with, so they know about it. And we definitely use EE within this campaign. But not only that, you'll see here, I've also pasted a link. This link actually shows our campaign strategies as well. Like the Cybersecurity Month, which October was Cybersecurity Month. So what we did as well, we brought awareness in terms of webinars, where we take different specialists within their field to actually educate our users. And we received a very high attendance on that as well, up to 200, I think 200 different users that actually came just to learn about cybersecurity. So you can see that the users are interested. So we had it on a weekly basis. Every Thursday we had this. I think I can show you here as well. This, we built a website on the awareness if you want to learn more about it, and what we do, what we are doing, what you need to do. And we also handed out flyers at the gate on this. So this was our webinars as well. You can even go have a look at the recap for those that have missed it. And on important, let's say maybe like recognizing evolving AI threats. The same way that we use AI now to better our lives, the attackers are also using them to formulate better emails or better phishing emails to us. So we need to be able to identify that, safeguarding our digital gold, which is our data. We've got a very important data, so we were educating our users on that. And then AI security and safe use, how to use it, your data safe within our environment. And this does not only work for the university data, but it works for your personal data as well, meaning to keep especially now that it's festive season, keeping your own account safe. The SMSs that you get and you're thinking it's from your bank. So this actually educates you to protect university data, even your personal data as well. So that was actually the campaign that we were doing to personalize it actually also on the users. And I guess that's why we getting such a high rate of attendance. And Buddha has already talked about the training manual. This was part of the phases that we had. So this was the compulsory training manual that together with Digital Academy that will be working hand in hand to make sure that it gets delivered to the users. It will be on Ifundi, as Buddha has already mentioned, so that we users can be able to, to be trained on this as well. And this is what I wanted to show you, the fail rate program. So when we started, obviously, the graph is a bit low here just because, we were still getting into it. Users were not onboarded yet on our system. Once the users got onboarded, you can see the graph going up. So that means we were failing a lot of our simulations that we were sending to our users. So they were clicking on emails, they were entering their passwords where they shouldn't be. But later on, now you see that graph is dropping. That means that now we are almost close to the global scale on how vigilant our users are. So now we dropping on those fail rates, and definitely I'm sure this will get better as we train them, as the default cybersecurity training is being introduced. Our users will be able to be more vigilant. They'll be able to know what's going on and what cybersecurity and how to protect their own data and their university data. So I'm loving this graph so far. And uh, obviously, now we're building a resilient future. So through adaptive training and active participation, we are transforming our users into the first line of defense. And they definitely are getting there through this campaign that we've launched. And they're getting wiser um, in order to protect our data. So threats are definitely increasing, as we know, and we need to build a future-proofing NWU. AI is definitely making it difficult for us, as much as it's nice. But as I said, cyber what is it? Cyber attackers are also using it to better their emails, to formulate it better, to be able to catch our users. So what we are saying from our side, we're saying that, our users need to stay secured by implementing the tools and verification habits that we have covered. And they need to stay smart by maintaining a healthy skepticism and communicating, and obviously for continuous learning as well. And we need to stay connected as a community of vigilance, report suspicious activity, share your knowledge, and we definitely have to look out for one another. So we cannot do this on our own, but as a collective, we can definitely do that. And by that, I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Tapilo. That was very insightful and interesting.
Yes, sorry, I didn't even switch my camera on. Good morning, everybody. That's me. Mm.
Are there any questions for Tapilo? Colleagues, can you hear me online?
Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. There doesn't seem to be any questions right at the moment, but thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, and then I'm very ready to listen to Colonel Matsumi's presentation. I think it will be very interesting. Thank you very much, Colonel.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Colonel Mutsumi from Hawks Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations, Northwest. What we are doing, we are investigating serious commercial crime investigations. I'm the team leader as well as the investigator at the same time. What we are doing or what we do, we give guidance to other investigators. We read and analyze dockets, and we also determine the investigation methodology. Yes, and thank you so much for being part of the university today. And also on behalf of the Directorate, DPCI Northwest, I would like to say thanks quite profusely for the invitation. Yes, the Directorate or the DPCI, commonly known as Hawks, has got three main units, which is serious corruption, serious commercial crime, and lastly, the serious organized crime. So our focus today will be on risks in the institutions of higher learning, cooperation with the Northwest University, and our achievements as the DPCI Hawks. Next slide, please. Here I'm going to sort of, but very briefly, explain the definition of corruption in terms of the PRECA Act. PRECA means Prevention of Corrupt Activities Act, which means it is unlawful and intentional offer, giving, receiving, or agreeing to receive gratification to influence a person to act illegally. Basically, here, these are the elements before we can establish or be sure that a crime of corruption has been committed. We must be able to prove these elements. The most important one here, I think it's actually, I believe, is gratification, where the person agrees or receives something. For an example, let's say I'm a manager of a certain company and then somebody needs favor. He says to me, don't worry, I'm going to pay school fees for your children, or I can take you to Cape Town. I'm going to buy you a flight ticket, something like that. Yes, and again, in terms of Section 34 of the PRECA Act, the duty is placed on the person who is in position of authority or power. So, meaning when you are a manager, then you realize is that there is something that is happening. Maybe a fraud has been committed. You are duty bound to report that particular crime that you have seen or identified. And then what is fraud in terms of common law, the definition? It simply means it is unlawful and intentional misrepresentation causing actual or potential prejudice. I believe that is self-explanatory, like I indicated on the definition of the corruption, that we have to have elements. For us to say fraud has been committed, then it has to be within the same definition. We must be able to prove potential prejudice, actual, whether it was intentional, there was misrepresentation. Can we be able to prove the misrepresentation? Yes. Next slide, please. Fraud Awareness Week aligns with global initiatives that promote zero tolerance of fraud in public institutions, strengthening transparency and accountability, encouraging ethical leadership across sectors. And basically, this aligns closely with the Hawks mandate to prevent and combat serious commercial crime nationally. Thank you. Here, universities manage budget, procurement, student funding, HR and payroll, and information communication technology systems. What I'm actually trying to emphasize here, it simply means that there must be a very strict administrative, security when it comes to this. I mean, an oversight must be highly exercised when it comes to this because we are dealing with money here, salaries of employees, etc., etc. Therefore, the system or the process needs to be very strict to avoid potential fraud. And then you'll also find that there will be, if the security or securities are not exercised accordingly, procurement manipulation will take place. And as far as irregularities, we also know, like for an example, from my experience or an investigation experience, there will be an employee working for a government, but when they make some applications for the NSFAS, they will, or they have the tendency, the proclivity to say, I'm not working for the government, or let my child use a different surname in order to be admitted at a certain university. Or for an example, if they want NSFAS to pay for that particular child, they would, use a falsified information, something like that. That's what we are basically sometimes investigating. And also, the experience taught us there are some qualification or identity fraud that are happening within the high institute, education of higher learning. Sorry. So, like I indicated on the previous slide, there must be very strict processes in order to identify such. Thank you very much. And then what we are also emphasizing here is, or what we have so far identified, it's weak controls, oversight gaps, pressure on staff and students. There's also ethical decline. There are also technology vulnerabilities. Therefore, these things must be checked. There must be a proper process to verify the security of these things. Next slide, please. And then, okay, can you go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. What we are also trying to emphasize here is the segregation of duties, meaning one person, for an example, at the supply chain, there should not be one person doing the payment. The next person must do something different from doing the payment in order to avoid possible fraud that will be taking place, or even corruption. And then there must be clear audit trails, a supplier vetting. If one is going to participate for a certain tender, that particular person must be vetted. We must know who is this person, the background of this person, to avoid this person being every now and then giving a tender for the whole year, or the next coming 5 years is the only person appearing on the tender. Let's say university tender, for an example, the one who's building or repairing the buildings that are like dilapidated within the university infrastructure, something like that. And there should also be ethics training to the university staff. It must be the culture and it must be practiced in order to avoid fraud that is happening within institutions. Cybersecurity, already there was a mention by the two previous speakers, so I'm not going to dwell much into that. By strengthening university culture, there should also be a promotion of ethics. There must also be a protection of whistleblowers. Very much important, this one, because we get information from these people, but unfortunately the same people are not protected. So we have to do something. This must be overemphasized. We need to protect our whistleblowers in order to avoid possible fraud or corruption that will be taking place. We also need to have a culture or to collaborate with law enforcement, meaning the university.
Up until 1 o'clock. We'll do that to lunch. Thank you. Can we get file of the meeting? Yeah. Yeah. File of.
Colleagues attending, can you please mute your microphones, please?
Thank you very much. Universities must sort of collaborate with law enforcement in the fight against fraud and corruption. We must have external stakeholder engagement. From time to time, we need to communicate. If there's a need, we can be called so that we can jointly maybe investigate if there's a need. Universities should also strengthen audit or risk units. We have to use data analytics. What do I mean by data analytics? It's to spot unusual patterns early. For an example, red flags, spending trends, duplicate invoices, and suspicious transactions. Strengthening solutions for strengthening integrity and combating corruption in institutions of higher learning, to effectively confront fraud and corruption within institutions like the university. The Hawks proposes the following solution. The university needs to build a strong culture of ethics and accountability. Promote ethical leadership at all levels. ensure every staff member understands their responsibility under PRECA in terms of Section 34 provisions. Our duty is to encourage a no fear, no favor reporting culture. Also to strengthen internal controls, improve segregation of duties in procurement, finance, and ICT, like I previously indicated, that one person should not do the payment, or the one who's dealing with the payrolls should not be only, I mean, that person should not do the everything from A up to Z. There must be another person doing something different from the previous person in order to avoid possibilities of fraud. Ensure conflict of interest declarations. For an example, if there is a tender that is out from the university, those members who are related to participant must make declaration. They must be honest, and they cannot be maybe sit on the adjudication committee, specification committee, or even the evaluation committee. So yeah, they need to be very open and honest and transparent at the same time. Access control on financial and student systems must be strictly tightened in order to avoid future or possible fraud and corruption. On the same solutions that we have come up with, again, universities or the university has to increase transparency in procurement and funding. I've already indicated and made some examples about this. Use competitive bidding and eliminate unnecessary deviations, meaning in order or for transparency to take place, all the people must be invited. There must be something like a newspaper calling everyone to come and participate in the bidding process, not certain people because they are related with some university employees. And also monitor high risk suppliers. I indicated previously that the suppliers must be vetted. Vetting process must be done in order to avoid future corruption and fraud. Implement real-time audit trail monitoring. There must be a consistent and continuous monitoring for that in order to avoid possible fraud or corruption. Use data analytics and early detection tools. For an example, automated red flag detection, trend analysis on procurement spending, and then there will be a sign if, let's say, one supplier every time gets tenders at a university. Ultimately, there will be a sign that, Norman, every time this person is the only one who is getting tender from the university. So those need to be checked in order to avoid such. And also identify, duplicate, ghost, or suspicious transactions. This, can you go back a little bit? Our experience taught us that there are ghost employees. For an example, I'm working for ShopRite, but every 15th, when the university employees get paid, I will also be receiving money. My particulars will be at the university, but I will be permanently working for ShopRite. So we need to check those things. They are happening. We are investigating such cases. And also, we need to identify duplicate and suspicious transactions. Those in the supply chains and finance department, I believe they are trained enough in order to detect and identify such. Next slide. I indicated that we need to have the external stakeholder engagement in the fight against fraud and corruption. And I also, in my previous slide, indicated that early reporting of red flags are important. If you realize that Mutsumi is the one who is always getting tenders from the university because his uncle is one of the lecturers, then that must be identified and that person must be investigated and prosecuted at the same time. Joint investigations and information sharing, I've already explained about external stakeholder engagement, collaboration between us, Hawks, DPCI, and institutions or the university. Access to institutional systems for evidence verification. Here, what I'm trying to say is access to institutional systems for evidence and verification. There must be a way of being able to prove or get evidence to say, yes, indeed, Mutsumi is the one who is always getting tenders from the university. And then, next slide. I've already emphasized again on the empowerment and protection of whistleblowers. This is very much important because these people are our informants. Therefore, they need to be protected all the time. And we must make use of these people. They must not be subjected to victimization or punishment. If a person is ready to give that information, that person needs to be protected as well as the confidentiality of that particular information he has provided. And then we must also promote a culture of anonymous hotlines. Let's say, for an example, as a student or within the university community or the campus community, there must be some sort of a hotline number if, let's say, one of the students gets raped or realizes something. That particular other students must be able to call anonymously to say, on this date or yesterday or at 11 o'clock, a certain lady or a student has been raped, blah, blah, something like that. Or we have identified one student maybe trying to bribe one of the lecturers to give examination papers, something like that. And then confidentiality. For a person to feel safe, protected, and maybe to act even freely and voluntarily. Once that particular person has given an information, for an example, whistleblower, if the confidentiality of that particular information is guaranteed and the safety and protection of that particular person giving the information it's practiced, then that person will keep on and there will be a culture of, fighting against this fraud and corruption that is taking place within our institutions. So confidentiality must be guaranteed. And then implement non-retaliation policies. For an example, I as a student or as one of the employee of the institution gave information or I've identified a fraud taking place somewhere. I should not I should not be subjected to departmental investigation. Why did I give information about the counselor or a certain lecture? Because that lecture is regarded as a very, important person in the institution, something like that. So there must no retaliation against that particular person who provides the information to the institution or to whoever. Regular fraud and anti-corruption awareness training. This should be our daily bread. I mean, both DPCI and other institutions. This should be a culture. It must be emphasized daily that awareness training against corruption and fraud must happen, must take place every now and then. That simply shows that we are fighting against this fraud and corruption happening everywhere, including our institution, our universities. There must be also a very mandatory training for staff and students. This must be, emphasized to students before maybe the classes starts. I mean, every day this must be preached. They must be told. Information must be given to students and staff members before starting anything. This must be like a daily prayer to them. Then ultimately we're going to win. Case studies of university-related corruption. Well, like the case of NSFAS, I think it's in the public domain. It's there, where there's bribery, corruption within the NSFAS. We do have those cases. We investigated those cases. I believe the one, if my memory serves me well, is somewhere in Cape Town. And then there must be a clear guidance on how and where to report. If there's a need, there must be policies in place guiding the approach or procedure, how and where to report, let's say, fraud or corruption that is identified within the institution. And then fast track disciplinary and criminal action if it is known or identified, or someone has been identified trying to bribe one of the lectures, there must be a disciplinary and criminal action. Statement must be given, information be given to us, we will come running, we will investigate, then at the same time, disciplinary steps must take place against that particular person who has been identified. And there must be also a zero tolerance for bribery, cheating, or collusion. Immediate suspension pending investigations. For an example, a lecturer and a student were seen like or colluding together to commit fraud, then they must be suspended up until the investigation is completed, so that the investigation should not be compromised. Like I indicated, swift referrals to the Hawks for criminal cases. I'm here today. If there's anything relating to fraud, because I'm investigating fraud and corruption, then you just call me, I'll come running, collect the statement, then we will investigate the matter. And that once fraud is detected or suspected, you refer that immediately to us. Next slide. Institutions, including law enforcement, we need to promote integrity-driven leadership. I mean, we need to be vetted. When standing there, people must have confidence in me to say that man can be trusted. That lecture can be trusted. I can give information to that particular lecture or to that police official standing there. Therefore, we need to promote integrity-driven leadership. Before, like the start of the day, this must be told. I mean, it must be preached to members, employees, students, for us to achieve this integrity-driven leadership. Leaders must model ethical behavior. From a distance, we must be able to see that that man is very reliable. We can go far with that man standing there. His conduct is beyond reproach. We can give sensitive information to that person, and then confidentiality of that particular information is guaranteed. That's what I'm trying to say or emphasize about ethical behavior. Our leaders, supervisors must be exemplary. They must be fair and honest when it comes to the processes of university, things like that. There must be a transparent decision making. We should not be biased or compromised in our decisions. We need to be fair. If wrong is wrong, let it be. If right is right, let it be. Then there must also be accountability to staff, students, and the public. We have to account for every little thing or action that we are doing. We must be able to say, yes, I did 1, 2, 3 for the following reasons. And that should be an honest, transparent decision making. Yeah, next slide. I can't see properly. I think it's my conclusion there. Anti-corruption efforts protect educational quality and national integrity. National integrity. We as citizens of South Africa, we should not seen by other countries as corrupt. When they see us, they must have confidence on us. And also, that will assist us in promoting or protecting educational quality. For example, by protecting educational quality, we are avoiding bribery, students writing a lecture to give out information regarding exam papers, or any information that will assist that particular student to go away with something that is not right, which is unethical. GPCI and Northwest university partnership. DPCI and Northwest Partnership strengthens institutional trust and accountability. I've already explained a bit, and I've overemphasized accountability, institutional trust. These solutions are not only about compliance, they are about protecting the university community, safeguarding public funds, and reinforcing the integrity of higher education in South Africa. Integrity will make us to achieve and go far. Protecting the university community is very much important for us when we comply. Safeguarding public fund is also important for us, more especially of higher education in South Africa. So if we can try to be honest, follow proper compliance, I want to emphasize this. If we can be strict in what we are doing and try to show transparency and honesty, ultimately we're going to achieve and we're going to win against fraud and corruption that are taking place in our universities or institutions of higher learning. Yeah, that was my very short presentation. Thank you very much.
Colonel, thank you very much for your powerful presentation. Lots of sound advice and practical advice. You know, if we can implement all those things, and I'm mostly liked, you know, the whistleblower protection ideas. I think that's very important. And then after all, it's very, very comforting to know that we have the backing of the Hawks in doing our business. That is really a very, very helpful idea going forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody online and those in attendance here. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Chaudhry Adams. I'm the Senior Internal Auditor at the Internal Audit Department, Special Investigations. I prepared myself very well this morning to come and present this presentation. But I want to, Albert said something this morning. We were expecting about 100 people attending this session online and in person. I'm very, very disappointed. And I don't know, I want to show you something. I'm not sure if you know, Nicolene, if you want to share that thing to me. The Colonel just spoke about awareness and creating awareness among staff and making it mandatory. But I'm not sure if you know this. This is not new news. This is not new news. I'm not sure if you're aware. You could just scroll up a little bit, Nicolene. I'm not sure if you're aware. There's a name. I'm not sure if the staff is aware of this, but we've been holding these sessions for the past I don't know how many years, and each year we try. Normally, what we do is we don't want to how can I say, the same stuff. But in many of these sessions, we do focus on making people aware of the policies. And this is the Northwest University's policy on prevention of bribery and corruption, fraud and whistleblowing. It's so nice. That your presentation and my presentation. When I sat there, I actually thought to myself, "Wow, this is really nice," because it's like linking to each other. But if you go down, Nicolene, This is very important. This is not new news, colleagues. You will see that at 4.1, this is policy. It's the university policy. If we scroll a little bit down, Nicolene, it says there, 4.4.1, university members are required to participate in the prevention and detection and reporting of bribery, fraud, and corruption. So this is not something that you can decide not to do or to attend, not to do, but it's actually it's policy. And for those who are not here today, I feel ashamed that those who said they will attend are not here. Um, if you can go just to the next the other document that I shared, Nicolene, and it's not me who says this. Here you will see there's another document. This document is available on the university website. I just want to read the name of the document quickly, Nicolene. It's guidelines and rules for an environment conducive to the prevention of fraud, corruption, and bribery. This is not new news. This information is on the university's website. We have these kind of sessions where we communicate this information to staff and students. You will see that the rolled out advocacy and awareness campaigns implemented annually across the university. This comes from high up, UMC, ARCC. So we just here to act out what the guidelines and the policy says. So that's why it's important for all staff and students to join in these kind of sessions. But I don't want to shout. Everybody is not my job. But I just wanted to share that short information with you guys. But if I can start with my presentation. So like I said, and previously, the colonel also mentioned that it's the 16th up until the 22nd of this month is International Fraud Awareness Week. So this is a global initiative to raise awareness and about the impact of fraud, not only on universities, but even in your own personal life. Because how many people get scammed daily on Facebook and via phone, their own phone and stuff. It's not only the universities and organizations that suffer these losses and prejudices. So these sessions are here to empower everybody and to recognize and then also to prevent fraud in the long run. And at the university, like I just mentioned before, we have these documents and these policies and these guidelines. So as the Northwest University, we are committed to integrity and transparency. So today, what we're going to do is just to explore how each of us this year and online, and even myself as well, and I think the colonel as well, what is our role in this whole thing of trying to prevent fraud on our campus and in our lives and even at home and so on. So, but what I will look at in the next slide, Nicolene. So, my presentation will basically, I've created it in a way so that we can just look at the types of frauds and irregularities, and one other thing that Colonel mentioned is I'm going to show you how to report these instances of fraud or corruption or any financial irregularity that may come up, which needs to be reported. The colonel also touched on this. What is fraud? I'm sure you've read this. There's about 3 elements. It has to be. It is, and all 3 of all of those elements needs to be met and for fraud to occur. It has to be an unlawful act. It has to be intentional misrepresentation and which causes actual or potential prejudice. What that means is, say for instance, you tried to you forged a bank statement, and now you've given your own or somebody else's bank account to somebody, and then sometimes people pay the money, so that and then the victim loses the money, so that is actual prejudice. Or even if the victim wanted to pay the money, but he found out, oh, this is fraud, so that was potential prejudice. So there was potential for fraud to have occurred, but in the end, the document itself is fraudulent. And fraud actually comes a long way. I think in the 1950s there was a guy named Donald Creasy. He was a criminologist. So he actually tried. He had interviews with what do you call it, embezzlers and fraudsters and so on in the 1950s. And then he had, from these interviews, he then created some type of to, how can I say, he tried to analyze the interviews from these fraudsters, and that led him to identify these three. They call it the fraud triangle. These three elements: pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. So and what that normally means is, and the colonel also referred to this previously. Pressure, it normally say for instance in a university environment, there's pressure. Like for instance, I work and I work very hard, very hard each year. I don't even take leave and so on. Come end of the year, I don't get a performance bonus. Now this maybe have been going on for a long time. And at home it's very difficult for me. I have a lot of debt or whatever. And now, but I don't get a performance bonus. But now, say I'm working I'm an admin person, maybe working, submitting invoices and so on. So now there's an opportunity. Say, for instance, the opportunity is normally it comes in where there's a lack of controls or weaknesses in the controls. And the colonel mentioned earlier to say that there has to be a segregation of duties. So, for instance, I'm in a job where I do everything from getting the quotation, doing the payment, and getting the goods or services. I mean, I'm that guy. But now the pressure is so hard at home. I have to pay this and that. But I see this opportunity to say, listen, I can create this invoice or this quotation. I can put my bank account number in here because I've been working so hard this whole year and these people don't give me a bonus. And now I'm trying to rationalize and justifying what I'm doing is right. So, and then now the way I'm rationalizing it is then to say, I've worked hard. I've worked very hard. I never get the performance bonus. So I'm going to steal. I'm going to take this money. And then you will see that the rationalization normally comes in normally people with narcissistic tendencies have this, where and sometimes you feel entitled to do this money or this the money that you want to defraud the university or any other organization of. And sometimes people with poor impulses, and then what they doing, they feel that what they're doing is right. I'm going to take this money because the university never gives me a bonus, or they don't see what I'm doing, and that's why I'm going to take this money. Yeah. So that's the fraud triangle, and that's basically what fraud is about. And there's the definition. Colonel also referred to this previously. Go next slide, Nicolene. So yeah, I just have a little bit of examples, and Colonel mentioned earlier also that we should have to make people aware that these kind of things are happening. It's not just in our university; it's all over. Here's a case of a 9-year jail sentence of a lady, and 2 days ago or just yesterday, I was in a webinar where this lady actually told her story. And what happened with her is she worked in a company, and you can go and read the whole story. She worked in a company, and yesterday when she shared the story, she said actually she didn't need the money, or she didn't the money for that she defrauded the company from. What she had a gambling addiction, and then I know a lot of other people that that I know that has gambling addictions, and it can cause real trouble at home and even in the workplace. What happened to her is that she defrauded this company out of 60 million rand. But and then she was handed down a 9-year jail sentence. The other one, Colonel referred to it yesterday earlier about the one in Cape Town, the NSFAS fraud. But this one was just recently October. There was a person who had said they had accommodation, and this was accredited accommodation at UFS. So then, but at the end of the day, that accommodation doesn't exist. We see this happening in our universities as well. It's getting out of hand. And as you can see, it's not just Northwest University, it's not just UVS, it's other universities as well. So fraudsters are targeting universities and students to commit these kind of frauds. And more importantly, also with AI now being the buzzword, uh, a lot of scams are being created with AI, especially on social media. And that's why it's important that I'm not sure if you listened earlier to Mr. Buta and Tapelo, but to go look at the NWIT website to go and see how to try and prevent, or not prevent, but to make yourself aware, and to spot the red flags, and to be aware of what to look out for in order to safeguard yourself as well as your other colleagues and so on. Um, Next slide, please. So from our side, the internal audit, I've just made, this is just a small list of the categories of your normal type of irregularities that is reported to us. So we see that this is now 8 that I've mentioned, but there's a lot more. But what we normally see is financial irregularities, people that misuse university funds for personal benefit. Um, you will see admission irregularities. This is actually a big one because, as everybody knows, we're moving into a new system now, and what I've seen is that the modus operandi of these fraudsters outside are getting, and with AI coming in now, and technology becoming very advanced, these people they're getting smart. They're getting smart. I can recall that in the previous years, and I'm sure many of you would have seen it, but on social media, there's so many Facebook pages where it says NWU, oh yes, the NWU in it, but then it's not an actual official Northwest University social media account. And then you will get people or students that stays very far, maybe in villages or people or places where there's no internet, or not internet, but there's not much information getting to them. But then they will fall for these kind of scams. And at the end of the day, when they come and report it to us, and when we ask them the information, and to say that where did you see it, how did you go about, we find out that information is shared so widely on social media, which is not actually university um, um, platforms, social media platforms. We've seen people, students getting extorted for money. They will say, you must pay this amount to get accepted, and you must WhatsApp this person. And one thing, the university will never, ever communicate with the student via a WhatsApp or cell phone or number. There's the official proper channels that the university communicates admission and acceptance information. And it's very important, that you know about these kind of stuff. And if you find a Facebook page where these kinds of stuff are reported or uploaded, uh, there's means and ways to report that kind of post and so on to the administrator of the WhatsApp group or the Facebook page and so on. And we encourage students and staff to report that directly to the administrator so that they can block the page, or just delete the page in a whole. And then staff misconduct, bribery, corruption, theft, fraud, misuse of assets, nepotism. These kind of stuff we see a lot. It's a lot reported to us. Student misconduct, students being involved in selling fake medical certificates to submit to for exams. We've seen the other day, there was students. There are also students submitting fake lease agreements. Um, Procurement irregularities. Normally, what we see is that sometimes quotes are manipulated, or you will find issues where, I'm sure everybody knows about the 3-quote rule for expenses over 5,000. What we see is that payments are being split. You will have say for instance, I want to buy a phone or computer. The computer is 10,000, but I have to go now and go get 3 quotations. I'm just making an example because, let me not use a computer because there's a list. Let me say, for instance, what can I use now? A TV, another TV. Say for instance, this mic. This mic costs 10,000. then what we normally see is that the quotations are being split into three to make it less than 5,000, because then it won't be, you won't have to have it authorized by your line manager. So and even falsified documents or quotations and invoices, we see that a lot. Conflict of interest, that's also a big issue. Where people would, I would register a business, or maybe I will use my wife's name or my son's name or whatever. Then I register the business, but then I want to do work for the university. But meanwhile, I never declared this. But even though I'm at the back, or when I'm at home, I'm busy doing my business accounts and doing my admin and stuff. So that is also a big problem. Um, Data, IT, and data security. What we've seen in the past is that I'm sure the students, maybe students who's online that uses the DIY app. What we've seen previously is that sometimes students will change each other's um, bank account numbers on the DIY app, and what we've actually what it's not it we couldn't substantiate it, but what we thought is that I know many students uses the computer labs, and normally what they do is they sign in, but they forget to sign out. And even staff members as well, you will see you will sign in to computer, and sometimes many of us don't have even passwords on our laptops or computers, and that's a weakness in the control process, if I can say it like that, because anybody can come and access your computer and do stuff, take information or plant information. uh, so it's very important to safeguard your IT security, and especially personal information and so on, passwords, usernames. And then um, a big one, the residence and private accommodation issues, like you've seen before. It's in the news. It's with NSFAS, where would you will find that people are exploiting the whole accreditation process. Um, I'm sure if you go and read up that story, you will find that that person, they applied for accreditation. They said they have so many beds, say 100 beds, but when NSFAS actually went out to go verify the place, they couldn't find the place. It was not a place, and students are in cahoots with these landlords, and because they're getting money out from it. Remember, because the university pays the landlord, the student is staying somewhere else, but the address that the university has for this landlord on the system is, if you go to that place, or in this case, when they went to that place, they couldn't find the place. And uh, I can say that this kind of stuff is happening even in our university, and I know many students that I'm sure there's word being I don't want to say gossip, but students gossip. We there is um, how can I say, we do take action against these students, or the university take action against these students and staff who are involved in these kinds of irregularities and fraudulent activities. But now, if all of this, if you know of this, if you've seen this, if you have information of this, what do I do with this then now? And you will see. I'm sure Albert mentioned this before. We in internal audit, we actually, like from my side, I work in the investigation side, and then we have other colleagues who does your verification audits and your compliance audits. And what we've seen also through the past years is that people don't know where to report what. Uh, Students will come, and then they will come report issues to us that is actually not our mandate, but then it falls within, maybe, say for instance, the student comes to us and say, oh, but they stole my bicycle. We're not there to go look for your bicycle or investigate theft of your bicycle. You have to go to protection services. They mandated to investigate theft issues. So yeah, I just have a brief summary to say what are we responsible for. So we responsible for investigating your in essence, it's actually is to say any allegation that has a financial nature of it. So fraud, corruption, um, embezzlement, or bribery, like that. Protection services, normally anything that threatens the student safety on campus, like your theft. They also do have on the website, they have a whole manual or information that shares this information. Um, employee relations, they normally deal with disputes that has to do with the employer-employee. Say, for instance, they have leave issues or any issues that relates to your employment. You have to then go to either you can go to your line manager. If you don't like your line manager, or maybe you want to report the line manager, there's certain processes you have to follow. You can go to your what do they call it, your HR, what is Queen, HR practitioner. Yeah. So there is people, there's designated people to report certain issues to. Student-related issues, student judicial services are there, and also protection services. They normally deals with with student-related issues. Um, Academic issues, like I said before, also normally you will find a lecturer or some other student will come and complain or say, yeah, but the student submitted this or he used this and it's plagiarized this, and those type of cases normally are referred to the registrar, and then the registrar is then responsible for dealing with that. I forgot to put in IT as well, but normally your IT related stuff also it goes to certain designated IT individuals to report those matters on. I'm not sure how many of us, but I can see I've seen now that not many of our staff, in just my opinion, I don't think they like to read the daily comms because of the amount of people that showed up or did not show up today. But the internal audit we have a website, and I'm sure if you go into the website, the university's website, if the main page, if you scroll down, you will find this window. This is where you can report fraud or anything internally or externally. When we say internally, normally what happens is if you report internally, you will see that there's a link on the if you, on our page where you can when you have to fill in a form, and we encourage people to include as much as much information as possible, because you can't just come and tell us that to say, I think Mr. Colonel is busy with fraud investigating. You know, what must we investigate? When did it happen? How did it happen? Did you have any documentation? And so on. So there's an internal reporting line and also an external reporting line. The Colonel also referred to this earlier to say that protecting our whistleblowers is very important. That's why the university has rolled out now the external firm to handle our external reportings for whistleblowers, where you can remain anonymous. And what happens is if you can, I'm going to show you now. If you can just go 2 slides more back, one more, yeah. If you feel that you don't want to deal with, because what happens normally, internal reporting comes to directly either to the director of internal audit, or I will see the email, or you can email me, and I'm going to show you now about the reporting boxes. But we've seen that our external reporting line is really how can I say, more people prefer using this platform of reporting, where they will you can call, you can send an email, you can WhatsApp, and you can remain completely anonymous. But the one thing that I don't want to say I don't like it about being anonymous, because normally what we see is we can't report back to the person, or when we want more information from the person, it's very difficult when the person just reports something, and when we try to obtain more information about the allegation, it's difficult to then get that person or that information, and sometimes it then it can delay the investigation, or in many cases when the complainant doesn't want to work together with us, then we say, okay, but we can't, we will look into stuff, but in order for us to really verify information or get real hard evidence, and if that person is not available, it's very, very difficult to successfully investigate the case. And then just go one up more, Nicolene, please. But if you don't want to go that way, these boxes have been on the university since what donkey days. We have one in Mafikeng, Potchefstroom. There's two on Potchefstroom campus and one in Vaal campus. You will see that we have been to see one building, but just downstairs next to the elevator, there's a box where you can write your story or your allegations. And like I said, very important. We need we normally call it the 5 whiskeys and one hotel. The who, what, why, and how. If that information is there, it will make it easier for us to investigate the case. And then and even if we investigate the case and then maybe it has to go to the, we normally report some cases of a certain value or where there's fraud, like you can see as prima facie evidence of fraud or corruption. We report it to the police, and then the colonel referred earlier to the three divisions in the Hawks. Uh, when we report these kind of cases to the local SEPs, they then look at it, and sometimes they have to then allocate it to your either to your SCI or TPCI and so on. And at the end of the day, they then come back with us and they ask questions about who the complainant is, and then they have to obtain statements from them and get information from them as well. So it's very important that when we receive allegations and stuff, it's very important that there has to be, in Afrikaans they call it, there has to be vlees aanwees. And then we will then dissect that vlees and look and verify the facts thereof. So this is where you can report it internally. We have an email, we have a website where you can report it and fill in the form. You can upload documents, or you can drop it in one of these boxes at any of on any of our campuses. And that's my story. I'm not sure if there's any questions from.
Chaudhry, there's an online question, and it's basically directed to the Colonel. The question is, how long do investigations take until the investigation team reports back to the suspect? How long do investigations take until the investigation team reports back to the suspect?
Thank you very much for the question. It all depends. It all depends because, honestly speaking, to investigate a crime of fraud, you are reading a lot of documents, you know. To prove your case, you must read, you must do a lot of reading, and sometimes it takes time. For an example, let's say 100,000 was paid into a Capitec bank account. Firstly, we will have to apply for Section 205, which normally takes, according to the procedures, 14 days. But if the information is too much, it will be extended to maybe 3 months before we can get feedback from the bank. Or let's say the crime or fraud happened 3 years ago. For the bank to get that information, it's not something that is going to happen like tomorrow. So they will have to go and search in their archives in order to get that information. So fraud, we cannot just investigate and immediately arrest. You investigate, get documents, apply for documents. After applying for documents, you must analyze those documents. You must really check whether the elements, maybe for fraud, whether can we prove prejudice, potential prejudice, actual prejudice, misrepresentation, unlawfulness, and intention. Yeah, it's not like theft where somebody stole a television and then you report, and then we're going to search for that particular person. So, yeah, you have to read a lot, get documents. That process of acquiring or getting those documents in order to prove your case, it's very slow sometimes. But at the end of the day, we will be able to arrest suspect. I don't know whether did I answer the question, but that's how the process is. Thank you very much.
Colonel, thank you very much. I can appreciate that it's a long process and a very thorough process, and that's why it will take a long time. Then we've got a question online from Lwandile. Can you put your question, please?
I hope you can hear me.
We can hear. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've noticed in other public institutions, when people are being investigated, they normally resign, and then you will find them working in other institutions. So what happens if a person resigns while there's still an investigation going on?
Is the question directed to the university or to the Hawks?
No, to the university. To the university.
Yeah, so when we've seen this a lot, I'm going to be blunt and straightforward to you. Normally what we see is that if we have a suspect and that person, obviously that person he knows he's guilty or not, but then we will have information that either proves or disproves it. But from experience, what I've seen is when we have sufficient evidence to say that this person is guilty, or not, and I want to say guilty because the courts will decide it, but let me say allegedly guilty. What I've seen in the past is when normally in our investigation process we do have meetings with these people where we give them the opportunity to state their case, and it's we call it the audi alteram partem rule, where we allow the other side to be heard. And when we have these kind of sessions, we will always see that the next day or the day before or 2 weeks after, the person resigns. And by law, that person, if you look at the labor law, the person can resign sometimes with immediate effect. Sometimes there's notice periods and so on. But that doesn't take away the facts of the matter, because at the end of the day, I've seen, if you've probably seen it in the news, but what happens is there's cases going on for like years and years and years up until it gets to court. But in the background, there's work happening. So even if that person resigns, and I can tell you now, I've received a message about 2 days ago from a case that I was busy with. I think it's 2023, and it also it with the Hawks, and I received the message to say we're going now to go take the warning statement. So my work was already done. That person, in that case, that person resigned immediately. I didn't care about him because I knew what I did, and I know that law enforcement is there for their processes. So it takes time, but at the end of the day, justice will be served. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
100%.
Then online, I've got a question from Christelle. Can you please put that, Christelle?
Hi, Albert. Yes, it's not actually a question. I can just maybe add from my side that a lot of mistakes were picked up when we audited entertainment. And what we saw was that the invoices that is not computer generated, let's say, for instance, Pastel, or where a system is used to generate invoices, so the invoices is generated per hand. A lot of mistakes were made there, then the end total would represent a figure, but actually the line items wouldn't come out to the sum of that figure, and people won't pick it up. So that can go perfectly what Chaudhry said, when you should really look at the document and, if needed, recalculate, because a lot of mistakes come through there. And yeah, that's actually a big risk if the invoice is not calculated via our system.
That's absolutely true, Christelle. Thank you very much. We showed in an internal context. Just quickly tell us your internal process and how long that takes for investigations.
Yeah, so and each investigation, it depends on the complexity of it, because and there's a process that needs to be done. You receive your allegation, and then you have to obtain your information. You have to then review that information. You have to then conduct, say for instance, third-party verification. In many cases, if it's so complex, you have to get access to mailboxes of staff members. You have to get access to computers um, or other documentation. So it really depends on the complexity of it, and 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 cooperation either from various stakeholders, where you have to go and maybe sometimes you have to contact outside parties to verify information. Sometimes you have to drive from outside the province to get information. Yeah, so it really it depends on the complexity of it. If it's just a quick, say for instance, a fraudulent bank letter or whatever, normally you can go to the bank and try to verify the reference numbers, and then it's that, and if it's found to say that, listen, bank did not generate this, it's fraudulent, and there you have it. Then normally it's case closed, and you can write your report, and then let the other powers that be decide what to happen.
Thanks, Chaudhry. Are there any other questions from the floor? Suzelle, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I would just like to know, to the university, if there was a fraudulent case or something against the personnel, and the personnel resigned, how do we prevent that person applies again and again, and just by resigning gets the case not further investigated? Is there a scenario where is there a place where they document where people are being looked into and actually seen as they were found guilty? And is there a place where human resources, when a person applies again at the university, flag this to the people who's advertising posts?
That's a very, very good question, Suzelle. And I can tell you that we are busy looking into creating some type of database. But first thing, are you talking about a person that was involved in fraudulent activity, was found guilty, or was it allegedly guilty and then resigned?
Yes, and then applied for other jobs at the university again, and get interviews.
I don't wanna talk myself in something, because in that case that type of information should have been with internal audit. But in any case, if I can answer you to say that yes, we do look into that. What we want to do now in the future, and it's part of our anti-fraud strategy for the years to come. As you would have seen, it's policy that our staff members, and as well as they join in this fight of corruption and fraud and everything. But what we want to do is we want to create a list like that, an internal red flag list, for not only for staff but for students as well. because and that's where we need a lot of collaboration with other departments. Say, so for instance, say such as your ER, because at the end of the day, we do not sit in offices where there is a need for, say, for instance, a junior admin person or whatever. We are not involved in that processes for recruitment. We would never know, and that's why it's important that we have these kind of sessions to say to maybe, and if to say to HR, listen, what type of controls do you have to try and vet a person coming from outside to the university? Do you do background checks? Do you understand? Do you really look into this person's background to say that this person is a ethical, and especially your people in financial positions. We like in my opinion, you can't just come and take a person that has been, say for instance, dismissed at some other organization for fraud. Um, Obviously, sometimes we would not know, but if we due diligence and background checks, and if we find to say, okay, this person was involved in such and such in this company, he applied now for this, that type of checks has to be made there with people in culture already to try and prevent um, a possible fraudster getting into our university. And we are looking into creating such type of red flag list, but it will be only used for internal purposes so that we can share with say for instance your HR department to say that, hey, if Yanni comes up and applies, we can receive a notification to say, oh, yeah, Yanni, there's something about Yanni that is not sharp. Just be careful or do more work. I'm not sure if I answer your question there, Suzelle.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any further questions? Anything on your mind, please? It doesn't seem to be many more questions or any questions. I think then we can basically conclude our session, and then I would just like Nicolene to say thanks, and we can then go back to our work. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Northwest University. I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our three speakers and Shorty as well for making these fraud awareness sessions possible. Thank you for sharing your time, your expertise, and your valuable insights with us. Your presentations were clear, informative, and highly relevant, and they truly help strengthen our understanding of risks we face and the role each of us plays in preventing fraud. We appreciate the effort you put into preparing for today and for contributing to our culture of integrity and accountability. Your participation has made a meaningful impact, and we are grateful for your continued support. Thank you once again for empowering us with knowledge and for helping make this initiative a success. I also want to thank everyone that is attending online and the ones here in person. We really appreciate it. And we just want to give a small token of thank you for the Hawks for joining us. Albert, will you just hand it over? And then thank you for Buddha and Tapela as well from the IT side. So thank you.
Thank you very much for attending. We hope you learned as much as we do. We keep on learning, and we will keep on trying to do our best in this important matter. Thank you very much for attending. Goodbye.